The Play Action podcast is fueled by Picasso's Pizza, where every night is pizza night.
The Buffalo defense was dominant against the Washington Commanders. We'll look at some takeaways for the season moving forward.
The tsunami that is the Miami Dolphins offense comes to town. 70 points. What hope does the Bills defense have to slow this down?
And then we'll look at the Miami defense and how they match up against the Bills offense. The Play Action podcast starts now.
It is the game of the year in the NFL this Sunday. Bills against Miami at Highmark Stadium, the game of the year until next week anyway. And we are going to dissect that at length. But before we do that, let's just take a moment to discuss the Bills' defensive showing, the throttling of the Washington Commanders 37-3. Katherine, what do you think about what's, how this Bills can carry this kind of performance forward? What elements can they carry forward in a significant way?
Yeah, I think when you look at the 5 takeaways, 9 sacks, you're not necessarily going to get 5 takeaways in every game, but I think that just kind of speaks to what they've been able to do on defense. I've been really impressed with Terrell Bernard, second-year linebacker who stepped into this huge role at Mike. But he had such a game himself with interception, 2 sacks, fumble recovery, something that hadn't been done since 2007 in one game. But I think even just his communication, getting guys ready in position, guys were where they needed to be to make plays, which is on coaching, their individual preparation too. But I think Bernard having such a big game just speaks to all the things he's done behind the scenes to be ready to, take advantage of each game.
Yeah, I think Bernard, one thing we think about, like, how might the Bills defense was good last year, very good. How might it be better than last year? Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on how Terrell Bernard is an upgrade on Tremaine Edmonds. And, let's not totally go there yet. He covers space better than Bernard or better than just about any linebacker in the league. However, the speed and quickness that Bernard showed was really great to see. The leaping interception was the kind of athletic play. That's why they drafted him in the 3rd round. And then chasing down Sam Howell from behind on the sack, closing on him really quickly was a great thing to see. So, that's one thing that is a good element. And another thing that the Bills did not have last year, Leonard Floyd. It really is encouraging when Von Miller does come back. Now you got Miller, Rousseau, Floyd as a top 3, which is better than last year. Katherine, what did you think about Floyd and what he had to say in Washington?
Yeah, tough day for Sam Howell. He spent so much time on the ground. I think there was a certain point in the game where it combined for more sacks and takeaways and completions. Now he obviously strung together some throws at the end of the game to change that statistic, but the Bills defense just really rattled him.
The clock struck midnight on Sam Howell. It's about like late in the second quarter. It was a giant gong in the air, and that was midnight. And it was a pumpkin. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, as it happens. But I was really impressed too. Leonard Floyd was getting after him. I liked AJ Epinessa's takeaway at the end. I think that was another great testament to a guy who puts in a lot of work. Josh Allen was saying AJ Epinesa makes plays like that in practice all the time. He ended up turning it into a pick 6 on a game day, which is huge. But I think his ability to affect the quarterback, when you talk about just kind of the D-line as a whole, I think that's something that, again, there were questions coming into this season of what's going to happen when they don't have Von to start. We saw how they looked without Von Miller at the end of the year. And now, through a couple of weeks, they've really put on a strong showing. I think you couple that with what they were able to do against the Raiders and just shutting down that run game. And now you see what they did with Washington. It's a good trajectory for this Bills defense.
And just to add another, new piece, I think a healthy Jordan Phillips, which he wasn't last year, is a plus. And then another new piece, he's not new, but Micah Hyde. I mean, let's face it, he wasn't there last year. And, his instincts and anticipation and reading that interception, is something the Bills didn't have on the back end. And it's something that's going to be incredibly key this week, because of Miami's deep playability, and we'll get into this, but I saw, Miami's first big play, a 54-yard pass to Tyreek Hill. The Broncos' young safety bites up, on a play where he really should have been the deepest of the deep, as Michael likes to say. And that's the kind of play, knock on wood, that the Bills, isn't going to happen to the Bills. I mean, not that the Dolphins won't get some big plays, but it's not going to be on a blatant bust, because Micah doesn't do that.
Now, we've talked a lot about what the Bills defense was able to do last week, but moving forward, now they're facing the Miami Dolphins, who just put up 70 points against the Denver Broncos. Mark, do you want to start us off with an autopsy report on that?
Sure, I'll be the lead coroner here on assessing what happened to the poor Denver Broncos defense. I mean, there's one word: speed, 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 speed. Miami offense, I think, probably is the fastest offense the NFL has ever seen. We don't need to break that down exactly, but their scheme is great. I love Mike McDaniel. I love the persona he presents. They are drawing up great plays, but it's all because let's not. It's about the number one, the players, and they have Tyreek Hill, 4.29 in the 40, the fastest starting elite receiver probably the NFL has ever seen. Jalen Waddle is a 4.35 at least. We never got a 40 time on him. He ran 4.37 as a high school senior. I'll call him a 4.35 guy. Devon Achane, their new running back, 4.32. Raheem Mostert, 4.38. We saw his speed when he ripped off a 67-yard run against the Bills last December. This is just an amazing collection of speed at the skill position, and we saw how devastating it can be against Denver. Now, they aren't unbeatable. A great consider New England great. They held them to 24 the week before, 24-17. But that was New England might have the best defense in the league. They're top 5, 100%. They're as good as the Bills defense, in my opinion. They took everything they had to hold them to 24. So this is just a great, great speed assessment. One more thing on Achane, the rookie running back. I looked up he ran track for Texas A&M. His personal best in college in the 100 would have been top 24 at the 2020 Olympic Games. His personal best in the 200 would have been 6th in the 200 Olympic final at the Olympic Games.
That's fast. That's really fast. I think you couple that with kind of how they're using guys, right? You mentioned Mike McDaniel, his ability to scheme up. He's doing stuff that Sean McDermott called it revolutionary of some of the things we're seeing this Dolphins offense do. A notable stat, how much they're using motion. 70% of pass plays are using motion. That's obviously first in the NFL of motion at the snap. And so because of that, they're seeing hardly any man coverage to start. Mark, what do you kind of make about how they're able to couple that speed with then what they're doing on the field to make it confusing for guys?
Yeah, I mean, their motion, changes responsibility at the snap. So we're moving one gap over, or we're the receivers, you count them from the outside. So the responsibility if you're playing man, shifts over one receiver when they whip Tyreek Hill into motion. So it's a big challenge. The Bills defense is equipped to handle that. The key is and Tua Tagovailoa. People in Buffalo like to talk about how he suffers in comparison to Josh Allen, and he does from a size, speed, athleticism standpoint. But Tua is a great quarterback for this offense. Tua has great anticipation, quick release, and he gets the ball out of his hands. He got the ball out of his hands in like 2.1 seconds. Nobody in the league is getting the ball out of their hands quicker. So somehow you need to stop his first read. Easier said than done. And he also likes to work the middle of the field. So you need to somehow defend the middle of the field, force him to make the tougher throws outside the numbers, which Josh Allen does great, but Tua doesn't do as well. Those are two big picture tasks for the Bills.
We talked a lot about the Bills' defensive line last week against the Commanders in our first segment. Mark, how do you see them matching up against this Miami O-line? Do you see any vulnerabilities there for either side?
Miami's O-line isn't one of the top 5 in the league, but left tackle Terron Armstead is top 10 NFL left tackle. I counted up, he has given up only 8 sacks in the last 5+ years. One a year, basically. He's great, and they paid a lot of money for him. So it's more about, again, this is a cliche, but it's really more this week about pressure than sacks. The Bills are not getting 9 sacks this week. No way. Getting into his face a little bit. And again, just making him hold get off that first read. Because the receivers, Tyreek Hill gets instant separation, and so does Waddle. Pressure is the key word this week, not sacks.
So pressure versus speed is our big matchup here.
Josh Allen and the Bills offense are very familiar with this Miami defensive personnel. They saw him 3 times last year. Beat Miami 34-31 in the wild card playoffs. Katherine, what stands out to you this time about the challenge the Bills face on offense?
Yeah, I think one big difference this year is the Miami change of defensive coordinator. They have Vic Fangio now. The way he's just kind of dialing things up is very different. He's not really a high percentage blitz guy, although, good pressure schemes. Last week, they were obviously able to affect Russell Wilson. But I think kind of the difference too in seeing less man coverage this year. Last year, the Dolphins were, 52.8% man coverage on third down, which led the NFL. I think there's going to be less of that this year just based on kind of how Fangio is scheming things up.
No doubt. I mean, Miami really was the ultimate boom bust defense last year. It was really the Brian Flores defense, even though he wasn't there last year. It was the man coverage, attack, and we saw it in the wild card playoff game. They came with a big blitz in the third quarter, sacked Josh Allen, fumble, return for a touchdown that really turned the game from a impending rout into a close game. But Miami also gave up big pass plays last year. Fangio's defense is known for being much better at limiting explosives. So, Miami has talent. A lot of talent. This is not the Jets' defense; they're not quite as dominant. The Bills are very familiar with their secondary. The Bills are catching a little bit of a break, I guess, in that Jalen Ramsey, a big high-priced acquisition, got hurt and is out for the first month or two of the season. So familiar quality cornerback Xavier Howard is their top corner.
So I think when we look at kind of how the Bills are possibly able to capitalize on this. Josh Allen's been spreading the ball around well. He's had back-to-back weeks where 9 different receivers have caught catches. Um, and I think just kind of if he can continue that, the run game's really looking good too, as far as just getting different guys involved. I know obviously it became a rout of Washington at a certain point, so hard to take away some of those stats. But Mark, what kind of stands out to you about what this Bills offense matches up well against Miami?
I agree with what you said. Spreading the ball around, that is going to be key again this week. And it was encouraging against the Jets, the way Josh distributed it and took the underneath throws. It's just he blew it all up with 4 turnovers. But that kind of performance from Josh is what they're going to need, because I don't think Fangio is going to. He's going to be protect he likes to start out in cover 2 and then morph into a bunch of other coverages at the snap. So I think distributing the ball underneath is big, and they need to run better. I know the final numbers look good against Washington, and they were good, but the start, as we wrote in the Buffalo News, the first down was not good enough against Washington. And Washington's really good defensive line did shut down Bills' runs on early downs, and that put pressure on the Bills on third down. So I see running better a little bit, and better success on first down is essential.
Right. Early on in those, on first down, I think is something they noted was there wasn't necessarily just one thing leading to it, but Sean McDermott, Ken Dorsey both talked this week about how we have to be more effective on first down to kind of open up other things. So they flagged that as well as an area of improvement.
Yeah. And, so I thought it was encouraging. You can't quibble about a 37-3 win, but the Bills are going to need to be better on offense this week, because the offense has to carry its weight. This defense is not holding them to 21 points. There's no way.
No, but we'll have all your coverage leading up to that, and then from the game as well, both on buffalonews.com and wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to subscribe, and we'll keep you guys informed.
Treat your team to the most flavorful pizza on game day at Picasso's Pizza. 4 great Western New York locations: Williamsville, West Seneca, Lancaster, and Blaisdell. Picasso's. We are Buffalo's Pizza since 1980. Order online today at picassospizza.net.